Welcome to the Seer Show. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of health, wellness, mindset, and fitness with the unparalleled guidance of lifelong knowledge seekers, Sifu Raphael and Nikki Gangemi. Sifu and Nikki will unlock groundbreaking insights with extraordinary guests from around the globe. You'll get the latest holistic approaches to well-being with a sharp focus on the powerful connection between mind, body, and soul. Get ready to take the leap. It's time to embrace a brighter and healthier future with us at the Seer Show.
5, 4,
Good morning and welcome to the Seer Show. If you notice anything's different, I'm missing my sidekick, Sifu Raphael. He is away and I have the pleasure of having a conversation with our 3 guests today. We've got Robert Lee, Raul Marin, and Lancelot Theobald. And let me know if I said your name correctly.
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for being here. We have an interesting conversation around the topic of relentless growth and creative legacy. And I'm curious to hear all of your perspectives. So we're going to just dive right in. And my question is, relentless growth means something different to each person. And what I want to know is, what does it look like for you right now? And has that evolved over the years? Who would like to start us off and share your thoughts? Anyone?
I guess I'll dive in. I run an investment firm for 30 years. And when I used to train younger people who wanted to get into this very detailed and very, what one would call it, stressful business, I had to let them know that in business, it's like wanting to become an airline pilot. You have to first learn how to sit in the cockpit, learn the manual, learn what every single button is for, every single switch, every single contingency before you can even start the engine. You still have to know everything about your business to the degree that you can almost share it and teach it. If you can't teach what you do, you can't really effectively do what you do. So, and then it takes them 1 to 2 years to learn that in any business, all the details. And then before you turn the engine on and taxi down the runway, that takes time to make sure you understand all the dynamics of that. But yet once you take off and get into the air, you learn to put things on autopilot as you start to cruise. Once you have you've mastered, the growth of your business. And so then at this point, after 30 years, I believe, we should be on autopilot. Now, as we know what we're doing, we know the cause and effects, we know the pitfalls, the challenges, the curveballs, all those wonderful things that we all embrace as business owners. But at the end of the day, once we get in that situation, the growth takes care of itself. It replicates itself. In my business, referrals is a key. Our clients, love us, so they continuously give us referrals. But, obviously that's just from a different perspective when it comes to business. But once you have your foundation set, then you can take it leaps forward, as you journey down that path.
Yes, and continue to grow.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Thanks for sharing, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
David, you're back. Still no sound. We had some tech issues this morning. David is my co-host today because Sifu is not here. And, this is just how life is, right? There's tech happens. We've got to be resilient and bounce back. We're doing our best to add you to the conversation. So you do what you need to do in the background, and we're just going to continue and turn it over to Raul to share what relentless growth means to him.
Thank you for such a deep question. I haven't even had my coffee yet, but we'll see how I do. I love everything that Robert said. I think for me, it's not being afraid to be a student in life, because as someone who's worked in education for adult education for 20 years, I've always said to students, there isn't a difference between who is standing in the room and who is sitting. The difference is, do you take what you learn and do you apply it? So it doesn't matter if I've been a teacher for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. If I don't apply what I teach you, if you don't apply what you learn, then we're just recycling information and we're just treading water in the areas in which you want to grow. It could be finance, could be personal, could be spiritual. But when we take all that information, whether we like it or not, there's something that we have to apply if we want to keep growing and developing into the person that we're trying to grow into. So for me, it's you can always be a learner, a student at something. And I think we take for granted the skills that we already have. So for us, it's kind of like, if like Robert said, if he's an autopilot, on a career, on a business now for 30 years, then for him, it's second nature, right? In whatever his area of expertise is. But then there's always that blind spot that we don't see, where we're like, I could really grow and develop in this area. But there's kind of that perfectionist in us that says, I don't know how to do that. I haven't done it very well, so I'm really not going to try. But we know that on the other side of the comfort zone, there is those areas where we can grow. So for me, I think it's about not being afraid to be a student and just keep learning and keep growing and keep developing.
Yes.
And to piggyback on that, one thing my parents taught me is always have a teachable spirit, always be able to be poured into, allow yourself to be poured into. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the similar for me. Relentless growth is consistently and always focusing on what is there to learn here? How can I grow? So pitfalls, things happen like Robert was talking, and using the airplane analogy. Okay, and how can I course correct now?
Yes.
And get back on track. So it's always looking for what's the positive lesson or learning here that's going to help me to level up and to grow. And that's relentless growth to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let the OJTs be the great teachers.
Yes. Exactly.
The curveballs, the bird strikes, all the things in the air that happen, the thunderstorms, all those, the weather. So.
Right. And navigating that.
Yeah. Exactly.
With equanimity, I will say.
Patience.
And peace. And peace. Yes. Peace under duress.
Yes.
So you can think clearly and be resourceful.
Mm-hmm. Serena Williams had a great quote, pressure is a privilege. And so if you can handle pressure, that says a lot about your character and how you're able to handle crisis. Like I say, things that come out of the blue. That's why you go back to your foundation. And I love that quote by her. I'm sure someone else said it before, but I heard her say that one time. So yes.
I love it. It made me think of how diamonds form under pressure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. Mm-hmm. David, can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yay!
You're back.
Thank you. Oh, so happy to have my co-host back. Welcome officially.
Thank you for your patience.
Absolutely.
I may have a different take on it, Robert. Just in that, I think that it's, and I'm not saying you implied this. I'm saying that it's what I hear is it's really not about speed, right? And it's not about we need rest and recovery to get anywhere and to do those things. Relentless to me, sometimes, and it's me, Dave, who has this issue that says, geez, we got to keep at it every moment, every possible thing. But I think that I like to go more where I'm inspired. So if I have to do something very creative for a client, if it's not happening, like Raul, you're a writer, if I understand, right? So you understand sometimes you hit a block, and there's certain ways as artists we can get past that. But sometimes it takes a little recovery time to give us to come back to things. So to be relentless, I think we have to use a softer word to get it right through. For me, I'm just talking the world by Dave. Okay.
Right. I love that. And I love how you teed us up for the next question that I have, which is, it's amazing. I mean, that's what I call alignment.
Yes.
So what I want to know from all of you is, how do you know when to push and when to pause on your journey, whether it's a creative one or a spiritual journey?
That is a great question. I will bring in the spiritual element here. I mean, this is where the voice of the Holy Spirit, for those in tune to Him, will know that to take a pause. For example, my wife is on a cruise this week by herself to regroup and to just kind of take some time out to breathe. And, with the 6 kids and grandkids always, chomping at her heels, she needs that time to reset, spend time with the Lord, and just come back out, clear the deck of her thoughts, emotions, things of that nature, and just be ready to reboot it and start over. So I agree with what you both said on that. We always have to take a time out, take a pause. We've always learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And so, but when we take that break, it allows us to see what really truly matters. What's the real perspective here? My breaks are things like playing tennis and as an author, writing, and reading. I'm a voracious reader. So, but those things allow my mind to clear on the business side of things. And then kind of what I call, a clean slate protocol, just kind of wipe the board clean and say, okay, where do we need to move forward after this little kind of reset in life and business and spiritual and all those things, parenting, all the good things in life we have the privilege of doing. So
that's right. I love that. Thank you for sharing that perspective. Who would like to share next? How do you know when to push, and how do you know when to pause on your journey?
I must say, I'm not getting paid to do this, obviously, but I just have to say it. One of the best movies I've seen in a while is F1. And I just saw it twice this weekend because I enjoyed it so much. And there's a quote in that movie where he talks about how sometimes we go through life in these phases where your heart slows down, all the noise around you just fades, and you're just coasting. You're literally just flying, and nobody can touch you because you're just doing in a way that is just so powerful. And that's what happens. Even when you're coasting, there's still a time when you have to take a break because you're running on empty, or maybe you're running 5%, 10%. There's other days where you're 90%. But it's if we intentionally see what are those things that bring out the best in us. What if it's physical activity? Like I have to do at least 30 minutes of walking a day, and I'm intentional about doing that. Sometimes I do 45 minutes. But it's in the things that are a little bit more taxing on the body, mentally and physically, where you have to say, well, if I'm I'm hitting a writer's block right now. I know what I want to say, but I just can't write it. That's where it helps to just take a break. Because if you got too many things running in your mind, that's your body just telling you, Raul, you got to slow down right now. Come back to those things where you're just flying. Is it prayer? Is it physical activity? Is it reading? Is it journaling? Is it connection, where you feel alive and you just feel like I can't go my day without doing this? Go back to that, and then don't let yourself get overwhelmed with all the things that you say that you have to do, but they're really not so high on your priority list.
Yes.
We can't always stay in the zone. We can't always be in the zone. you know.
No, you can't.
That's right.
You got to step out of it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. To
Great
reset.
Yeah, great point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think-
Thank you.
I think it's important to know yourself well enough that you know when it's time to move on and not to move. Sometimes, we, with our friends and families, we can have heated discussions, enthusiastic, passionate, I'll say.
Yes. Passionate.
And the times, as all of you know, when we listen, other times we contribute to it. So I think that what helps to answer the question is to know yourself well enough where you say, I'm exhausted. My son, I used to be an illustrator, professional illustrator in my early years, and I would always draw, and my kids grew up being illustrators themselves. And one day, my son, Andrew, he's just finishing college, and he says, "Oh, Dad, I hate hard work. I hate it." And I said, "I get it, Andrew. It's hard work." I said, "But you were up last night till 3 a.m. and you had school the next day and you were drawing. I said, "That was hard work." And he goes, "No, it was." I said, "Yeah, but there's a difference, right? That was your passion." Yep. And when you're willing to go, and I said, one of the ways to know your bliss is when time escapes you and you get to the point of exhaustion doing what you're doing, but you're loving it and you want to continue to go on.
Yes.
But the smart move is to say, I need to stop now because my body and my mind is now depleted and exhausted. So in doing that, I think that when we know ourselves, and so I will take meetings at certain parts of the day when I'm good. I'm 110%. I'm doing well. There are certain parts of the day I don't take meetings because I'm not there. I need time to just relax. I'll read, I'll get some things done, but I'm not good in the conversation of that.
The word that comes to mind is boundaries. We have to exercise boundaries. My wife is very good at teaching me boundaries because like all of you, I love what I do. I'm passionate in the 3 things that I focus on, and I could do them all day long, but she comes in and says, time out, take a break, come here, so the boundaries are very important. Yes.
Absolutely. And we need that break. And as all 3 of you were talking, I was thinking that even with the computer, I do this show twice a week, and every single time I have to restart or reset my computer in order for my camera to connect. So sometimes even with the phone, if the phone is being wonky, it's like, oh, let me turn it off and then let me start it up again. And then things are working beautifully. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like with us too, we need that. We need that break. I know for myself, and it's interesting with the word push, when to pause. When I'm in flow and things are coming so easy and I'm getting all this work done and I lose sense of time, it's almost like I know to continue coasting because it feels like coasting. And then when I notice that I'm spiraling and I'm taking forever to get something done and my head starts to feel a little like dizzy or confused, it's best to take that break and step away, whether it's go outside for a walk if it's a nice day. Sometimes I'll do push-ups or jumping jacks just to get the body moving and feel good. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't do jumping jacks and feel bad simultaneously. Yeah. Almost like you feel good, like, look at this. And if you add it, I love myself as you're doing jumping jacks. I love myself.
Joyful exercise.
Yeah, it brings about laughter. And it's like, you feel so good. But that reset sometimes is the thing that we need most. Yes. And speaking of
physiology.
Yes, change your physiology. Mm-hmm. So speaking of resets, I'm going to pause for this quick little message.
You followed the rules, tried the restrictions, counted the carbs, the steps, and the failures. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from doing it all without real change. What if the problem isn't you, but the plan? Sifu's Mind Body Method is a 90-day transformation built on 7 unshakable pillars: mindset, movement, nutrition, hydration, fasting, journaling, and faith. This isn't another shortcut. It's your structure, your strength, your reset. You don't need harder, you need better. Ready to begin? Start today.
And that speaks to what David, one of your points was about the relentless growth, that sometimes it's not about pushing harder. It's just doing something in a different way. And like Raul said, really being intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, purposeful. Good stuff. All right. So how do you decide, and we'll each answer this, whoever wants to take it first, how do you decide when something that you've created, whether it's a message or a project that you're working on, or a book, a performance, how do you decide when it's ready to share with the world?
Go ahead.
No, I'm thinking my thoughts here.
I see the thinking happening. It's amazing.
That's why I thought you were ready. I was like watching you.
I have an answer, so I'll jump in.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I shared with you, I used to be an illustrator, an artist, and all those wonderful things. And here's the problem with many artists. We never know when to stop. And that's what makes the painting or the illustration or the rendering the worst, is because now you're working it too much. And every creative person understands that you got to really be in tune and sensitive to that. This is it. It's done. Okay, I'm ready to go. And that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're all, everybody here is very creative. All human beings are very creative, and whatever medium they choose, right, they think, am I using too many words in this? Am I not getting close to what I need to do? Is my tonality wrong? All those things. So yeah, we can take a project to the point where it never gets finished, because in our mind it can still be perfect. But at some point we're going to have to be happy with it. Now, fortunately, human beings, I don't believe, look into our works as much as we think we want them to. And so they'll get a message from it, something they can hold on to and run with it. And it's very good. But you might even be thinking, well, that wasn't the message. Well, that was the message they got, right? They worked with it. It worked well in their life, and they move on. So there are a couple of times I know some writers that, said, what do you think about the book and this and that? And I'll tell them exactly how I felt about it, meaning, did I capture what their message was? And they'll go, oh no, Dave, that wasn't it at all. I said, well, it wasn't that you didn't communicate it correctly. It's just, for me, this is what I got out of it. And then maybe it's what my soul needed at that moment, or maybe it's something that my mind needed at that moment. So sometimes it's a really difficult thing, Nikki, to go ahead and know when enough is enough.
Great point.
There's a scripture in the Bible that says, godliness with contentment is great gain. We have to be content. I've learned to just, you can always rewrite something 100 times, but at the end of the day, we have to be content that the confidence and the work that the aptitude we put into that project meets our standard, which we've established. And so we can be at peace that, yes, we can edit it 2 or 3 or 4 times, but at the end of the day, if it reads well for us, and of course I always get my wife to put her eyes on it, or my other business partner, but it's usually the first thing we do is usually the best from our gut. I believe it's our best rendering when it comes from the heart. And so more often than not, other than you can lightly tweak something, when you've been doing something so long, like a songwriter, usually that song just pours out of them, or the poet, as Raul is, just pours out of you, and you know that's the right one. It's like the chef who could cook that great meal. They don't have to think. They're on autopilot. They don't have to think. They just do. What is in Top Gun Maverick? Don't think, just do.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes less is more.
Amen. I've learned that. That's been a lesson. Keep it simple, sweetheart. Kiss.
That's right. That's right. Kiss. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Raul, what were you going to share?
I think for me, it's what is the intention behind the message? Mm-hmm. Because there's so many reasons why we post, why we write, why we share. But is it to inform? Is it to persuade? Is it to converse? Is it to inspire? To challenge?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing about this type of work is, I can write this poem, and everybody here is going to have a completely different reaction to it.
Mhm.
So then that's the beauty of it, because I can share it, and somebody can say, Raul, I like how you went into this direction with this line here. And I'm going to say, wow, Robert, I mean, that was completely not what I was thinking, but I'm glad you see it that way, because now in retrospect, I can say, I can see how you can come to that conclusion. So, I mean, at some point, whether it's too short, too long, the beauty of it is you're sharing something of value, and you never know who's going to be inspired by what you've shared.
The eye of the beholder. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Robert and Raul, and Nikki, you're very good at this, is that sometimes in life we have a toolbox of tools, and we're always getting new tools, right? And like you said, Robert, sometimes we go ahead and we produce something, but we're not sure if it's it yet. But when we start producing more, we realize the first iteration was perfect.
Yeah,
and you're right, that happens. So in my world, as a marketing manager, a lot of times is brainstorming with the different professionals I'm with, and I always tell them from the very start. I said, listen, we're going to put down all our ideas. Now, some of them are going to be horribly wrong, but I need you to get them out of your head, right? So that we can start building something when we're doing this. So it's not uncommon to have a safe place where people say, yeah, Dave, that's a really dumb idea. Thank you. Now I can move on. It just get it out of the head, because not everything is brilliant. And then when you work with a community of people, you have to have that safe place, but at the same token, I want them to be very creative, and I think that all of us in all our different professions, creativity really is problem solving. And that's why I was thinking about you, Nikki, is that you have a huge toolbox. Every time I speak to you, every time I see you, every time you do your talks, I'm like, wow, that is amazing. Those type of tools that you have available. So I imagine when you're working with clients, you're cherry picking what's right for those individuals. Would you say that's close to accurate, or?
It is. It's accurate. And there's times where I'll pick a tool thinking that the person will like it, and they don't. Like tapping, for example. I use EFT, emotional freedom technique, with clients to help them to calm down emotions, to install new beliefs. I've got people who love it. I've got people who say, that's not for me. And it's like, great, we'll just pick another tool because there are so many.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So you got to be creative. Mm-hmm.
We can always reach people through all spectrums and all genre. Just depends on where their heart is and what they're open for. Where's the fertile ground in their heart and their mind to be receptive to what's in front of them.
Right. Well. Yes. Yeah. What are they receptive to? What's aligned with them? There's certain things that people are like, oh yeah, this feels good. And for others, it's like, you know what, this isn't, not me. It's not aligned with me. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
If
one person is reached, mission accomplished.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I know when something's ready to put out into the world, when there's like an inspired idea. I had it yesterday. I had an inspired idea for a video that I wanted to make. Normally I'll go to ChatGPT. I'll say, I want to talk about this. Give me a script. And it's not exactly right. And I'll spend time tweaking it and refining it. And I'll put it out and I'll notice that it really doesn't convert very well. I'm curious to see today when my video comes out how it does, because it was totally inspired. There was no script. I just talked off the cuff. I got it done in 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, this felt really good, to just let it be easy. So that's how I know when to just put something out, when it's inspired and there's excitement behind it, rather than getting caught up in the whole perfectionism and let's Let's take 5 hours to make a post.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of perfectionism because to me, people can become a slave to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's, I'll say the word healthy. I don't think that's healthy. I'm not saying we all live with the good enough attitude, but sometimes just go with it. It happens. We did.
Mm-hmm.
And we embrace it and say, okay, that's just the version of me being externally, the external version of who we are, whether it's on paper, illustrated, in song, in a podcast, whatever it might be. Take us through who we are.
That's right.
I would throw something else to that, Robert, is if this makes sense to what you were saying, is that know your audience.
Yeah, well, true as well. Yes.
Because sometimes we'll put a message out there and it's just the wrong audience, or the platform is wrong. Your audience isn't on that platform, or not a business, whatever it might be. So there are things that I have to do with my clients, is to make sure that the message is resonating with the particular audience that they're with.
No doubt about it.
That sometimes when I have a speaker, speaking at an event, I'll place him at a venue, and he'll want to talk about this because this is important to him, whatever that might be, and yet the audience, that's not what they're coming there to listen to. And so I have to carefully say, no, I said, they want to hear about this. Let's not, no bait and switch. Let's just give them exactly what they came for.
Exactly.
Because this is whether their minds or their hearts need right now, and then it works out. They speak about that, and then every now and then they kick in a couple sentences that have nothing to do with what we're talking about. I'm like, oh, I wish you didn't do that.
Yeah.
But again, it's where their heart's at when they're doing it.
No, I agree with you in that. When you have a targeted focus, and you've got to you got to stay in your lane there. Got to stay in the lane.
Yeah, that's all. You want to be asked to come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah. I was rendering more of a be who you are and let it flow out of you. And those who are captivated or interested will be attracted by that.
Boy, Robert, you make a really good point there, because when you are who you are, you'll attract like-minded, and those that aren't like that, even though it could cost you money or it could cost you an audience, it's probably your heart is more full when you're working with people that are like-minded and share some of the same philosophies, morals, ethics, etc., that you do. And in a business sense, there's plenty out there of your type. You don't have to reach everybody. So that's a good point, Robert. Yeah.
Thank you. Be who you are. If you're content in your skin, we always ask my wife and I counsel couples. We ask people, do you love yourself? Do you like yourself? And sometimes people can't answer that question because, as one of y'all mentioned earlier, they're not sure of who they are. They're not have a firm foundation as to who they are. They haven't accepted their personality, their pros, their cons, their strengths, their weaknesses. Like you said earlier, Dave, they don't know themselves. They don't know who they are. Their identity is become vague to them because they're trying to people please. And that's a road we don't want to go down. So it's not a healthy journey. So.
You know what I noticed with the three of you here, that everything that you all do is to help somebody to get to know themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Good observation. Yes. Astute.
Great observation. Yes.
My mission is to build people's lives, both in the financial world and the spiritual world, is just to build people up, to elevate them, to let them have a platform to be elevated. Say it that way. And Raul, with your writing and your coaching of children, and similar. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of motivational talks, but the one that always circles back to me and inspires me is that I heard a speaker end the talk with two questions. And she said, how much do you love yourself?
Yes.
1 to 10.
Yeah.
A lot of folks said in 5, 6s, 7s.
Yeah.
It leads you to question why the answer is not a 10. And she said, okay, and then now I'm going to challenge you even more. I want you to write down 10 things you love about yourself.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And some folks were just blank stares, and they just could not put pen down paper.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah, that's sad.
it doesn't matter which course, which coach, which program you invest in. If you, like you said, if you just don't know yourself, if you don't, if you haven't come to learn what it is to love yourself, then that's really what everything boils down to. Do I know myself enough to know what it is that inspires me, what it is that I can do? What's my passion? What's my purpose? What's my weakness? What's my strength?
Yeah.
I really do have to know me first.
Yeah. A lot of people look in the mirror and they don't know what they're looking at.
Nope.
They don't know what they've become and how they got there.
Nope.
They got lost on the journey.
They got lost. Yeah.
Would you say that that's a learned process? Because, we all have, we all have a mother. Things we love about her and things like, well, I wish she didn't do that. So, I'd like to blame everything on my mother, but I'm not going to right now. But
right.
The things that you're saying is, when you ask yourself 10 things that you love about yourself, we're not always asked that. It's not always something, but if you ask me 10 things why, I don't like this, boy, I can come up with it. Right. So I'm wondering if that is a institutional or a community or things that are taught to us, that one must suffer before good things happen type thing.
Yeah.
So I almost think that that's a learned process, and maybe it's not asked enough, of ourselves. And maybe some of us are embarrassed by it, and maybe it's selfish. And, in one way it is selfish, but in another way, it could be very therapeutic. It can be very enriching, giving us strength and power.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are not grounded because in their younger days, they allowed peer pressure and let's just say that the things of the world to toss them to and fro like a boat on a 6-foot seas. And they didn't have an anchor to hold them down. And so environmentally, wherever they grew up in, good, bad, positive, negative, they didn't find their anchor. They didn't find their way to what grounds them. And when we're not grounded, we're tossed around and we're not settled. As we see that a lot when my wife and I, again, counsel couples, is they're just getting fed too much information. Too much is in their head, and they haven't selected. Okay, this is my top. This is my priorities. This is who I am. This is where I need to go. And then when they're as couples, when they have marriage struggles, because they haven't identified. Here's what I bring to my marriage that can make it a success. Not to get off on all that, but they haven't found out where their foundational and their anchor is my thought there.
Yeah, they might have gotten a little lost along the way. And that's one of the things that I help people with is like a remembering of who you are, because we can forget and we can let other people and life events, the meanings that we've assigned to it, we can lose who we are and have this false sense of self. And I know Raul gets it, he's shaking his head. So I heard this, I don't remember where I heard it from, but it's like, if we feel bad on the inside, that just means we are disconnected from our higher self, our soul, who we really are. We're not seeing ourselves accurately. So if we could take a breath and just ask yourself, what would my higher self say? How would he or she feel in this situation, and then get back to love, seeing it through the lens.
Are they proud of their actions and their responses? I like to say, not to jump in too much, but when someone reacts, that to me is a sign of immaturity. But when they respond, that's a sign of maturity.
Yes.
So you kind of find out where you are on the grid. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Raul, what are your thoughts?
Well, David hit the nail right on the head when he talked about the moms. And I have connected on a couple occasions, and she knows, most people know the life-changing thing that happened to me when my mom sat me down and she said, I'm telling you this as your mother. I hate to see you just going through the motions in life, but you're just, I don't know what it is, but something in you has to change. And then that was about 5 years ago. So if you think about it, I mean, who knows you better than your own mom?
Yeah, mom and dad.
You know, she sees everything. She knows everything about you. So she's going to call you out, especially at a time when you, oh, geez, mom, did you have to tell me like that?
It's raw. It's raw.
Oh, I can't. I mean, yes, it hurt like bricks falling on my head, but she was right.
Yeah.
I said, you know, you've never had. You're educated. You're handsome because not just because you're my son, but you are. You know, you're funny. You've got all these skills. It's like, but why is it that you're almost 40 and you're still single? I don't get it.
Mhm.
Something in you has to change, and it's up to you to figure it out.
Mhm.
And I mean, that lecture just hit me harder than anything I'd ever experienced. And then the next day I said, Mom,
Thank you.
all I can say is thank you
Yeah.
for bringing this out, because if you don't tell me, I don't see it.
We need to have those people in our lives, those friends, those close confidants who can speak truth to us.
Yep.
Speak truth.
Yep.
We don't always want to hear it, but we need to
It
hear
hurts.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Reality checks.
Reality
That's right. That's right.
You know, my wife will kick me under the table. We'll be at an event or a party,
Yeah.
and there's other people there, and somebody will be there, and whether it's male or female, and they'll say something, and then they'll say something again, and then a third time, and then I say, okay, now I can be blunt because they've done it 3 times and they offended half the table and all this other stuff, and I get like kicked under the table and says, Dave, don't go in, do not engage. Not
Don't jump
engaged.
in the pool.
and I do, because I can't help, and in a kind way, you know, like, what do you mean by that when you say blah blah blah? You know, that type of thing. And so whether it's, you know, the 3 areas we should never speak of, money, politics, or religion, right? You know, those areas, I dive right in. I say, listen, let's talk about that. If you got some issues right now, let's
I'm not afraid of those.
do it in a civil way. Let's be humans about this.
Yeah.
I totally will respect your opinion in the hopes that you'll totally respect mine. Da, da, da. By the time I give that lecture, they're so frightened. They are so frightened. They don't know what they're walking into.
Because a lot of times they're just throwing surface comments out.
Yeah.
Just stuff
Right.
on the surface. Yeah,
Right,
there's
right.
no depth to
Because
it.
it's not always, Raul,
Right.
it's not always the truth that people are spitting out. Now, I'm not speaking for your mom, but sometimes people say things and then they'll say, well, that's the truth. Well, gee, in another paradigm, that's not the truth at all.
This is what they heard.
Yep.
Or it's their truth and they're projecting that
Yeah,
out
right, Nick.
to you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's their truth.
We have a lot of those when some people, we call them soundbite conversations. They're just throwing sound bites out. And it's like, okay, let's filter this and see where's the root of all this? What's the root of this? Because if you know the friend and you know, wait, why are you saying that? That's not who you are.
Right.
They're throwing sound bites at us. And so we kind of get our sifter out and sift through that and say, well, that's not really where you are. That's not who you are. Or whatever the conversation is. But I've never been afraid to talk about the supposed things you're not supposed to talk about, because to me they're core issues. And so when you're comfortable with who you are, you can have any conversation with anyone.
Right.
And like you said, like-minded people don't mind having that conversation, or even others who maybe they want to learn something, maybe they want to get a different perspective because they've been fed a bunch of nonsense and they're just trying to filter it themselves.
That's right.
Yes, that's right, Robert. Yes.
I don't have a problem with it. I have clients who come to the office who bring up, let's just say, wild left-leaning stuff, and they just want to try to see if I'm going to bite. And okay, let's have that conversation. I don't have a problem in engaging you. Let's just have a fair conversation.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
It's like the law of the rubber band. If you allow yourself to be stretched, you'll never go back to the original size that you were.
There you go.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Beat the rubber band of life.
Yes.
These conversations can be hard, but once you realize it and say, I learned this about myself.
And you get more comfortable
You
expanding.
get more comfortable. Yep.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have a new level of comfort. You know, transformation. I think of the butterfly. It can't feel good to push through, make its way out of the cocoon. It's got to feel, depleted. But the beauty on the other side of that, and you just get to your next level and the next and the next as you iterate.
Right.
Learning the confidence of articulating where you stand in a very artful yet pleasing way to the listener.
That's right.
Yeah. It's something you develop over time. Yeah.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is. It's something you develop over time. I'm going to pause for a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and share our final thoughts and how people can connect with you.
Bunch on the roof, vibes so fly, see for Wi-Fi on the Lancelot, we rise sky high from the balls to the block, they coming in deep, energy loud in the convo steep, elevate minds, build real ties, the same no talk is where futures rise, July 20th, make that move, NYC heat with a global groove, secure your spot, don't miss this truth, we bunching with purpose high up on the roof, secure your spot, don't miss this truth, we bunching with purpose high up on the roof.
If you're in the New York City area, that's going to be an awesome event, mastermind to attend. Lancelot, our guest, we lost him, tech issues, I guess, but he will be there and you get to meet him in person if you can attend. Mm-hmm. So I have loved this conversation, and we're getting to that time where we're going to complete. So I'd love to hear any final thoughts each one of you have on the topic of relentless growth, creative legacy, and then take 45 seconds to just share anything you want about yourself and how people can learn more about you. So we'll start with Robert, and then we'll go to Raul and David.
Well, it's always a pleasure to hear everyone's deposits into any topic that we can learn and use as a part of our growth, whether it's business, personal, spiritual, any of the above. And so it to me, always jumping into the pool of ideas, and again, like we mentioned earlier, having a teachable spirit allows us to grow. And when we take that growth that we've learned and we actually apply it and use it, I think that's what develops our chemistry, our ability to take our businesses, our lives to the next level. And I think that's honoring to the people who poured into us also, and to the folks that we serve as well. So I think that's a win-win for everybody. Always be educated, always learn, always be learning. I was told that the first day I started the business by a mentor. If you stop learning, you stop growing. We've heard that phrase 1,000 times, but I think that's still true today. I'm a young 56. I feel like I'm 40. My body tells me otherwise, but my mind says keep learning, keep on edge, keep challenging yourself. Do things that are uncomfortable only so that you can keep growing. So I think everyone here has contributed to that, and I'm better off for that conversation. So I appreciate being a part of this panel and learning from all of you.
Excellent. Thank you, Robert. And everybody, you can connect with Robert at witnesspartners.com.
Right. There's a series of 6 books I and a co-author wrote on the end times from a unique perspective from Enoch and Elijah. But I'll stop there. But it's Sifu's loving the series, but it's a very fun adventure. So, yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you. Raul, any final thoughts and what you'd like to share about yourself and how people can connect with you?
Well, thank you all for this amazing morning to start on Wednesday. I mean, I wish I could do this every day. To be with like-minded people that encourage you and inspire you to bring out the best in who you are and to serve people the way that you were creatively designed to do. And of course, as any entrepreneur, we have a gift. And we wake up every day inspired by sharing that gift. And to me, I think that one of the lessons that I've learned the past couple of weeks, and especially now that we start a new month, is you learn a lot more in silence than you do in noise. Yeah. So boundaries for me, like Robert said earlier, are very important. And to me, I feel like my thoughts, my creative juices flow better. I feel like I do better and am better when I'm in silence. Yeah. And if I'm not in silence, I'm in something very, very light that doesn't distract me from the things that I got to do, whether it's to think, write, or speak. We're really quick to grab the phone, and I know I'm guilty of this a couple times. I'm trying to, and I'm learning. I'm learning to transition from not exactly going for the phone as soon as I wake up.
Oh yeah.
Being in silence, really helps you to relentlessly continue to grow, because that's where you really, at least for me, I think your thoughts run clearer when you can just journal and reflect, and that'll give you enough energy to go into the rest of your day with whatever you want to do. And it's just it's a continuous decision that you have to commit yourself to doing every single day. And that really does make a difference when you start to look back and say, where was I a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, when I started to really prioritize what I got to do.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for your insights and knowledge, and can't wait to connect again.
Absolutely. Thank you for all you shared, Raul. David, final thoughts.
Nikki, aren't these two of the most interesting people we've ever met?
They are. I'm loving this conversation.
This is really, really terrific. I really appreciate everybody giving their time in doing this, and that it's a safe place. A safe place to say what's on your mind, and you're not going to get beaten up about it. We just want to understand. One of the things that I always like when I go into discussions with people and try to find out a little more about themselves, I usually will say to them when I first meet them, that sounds weird, in 5 minutes, I'm really cool. What'll happen is they'll say, well, what do you want me to tell you? Tell me what's in 5 minutes. And within 5 minutes, of course, I time them, because I can go on and on and on. I find out a lot. It's really a wonderful exercise to do in coffee, especially with my clients. Now, primarily, I'm a marketing manager. What I do is, besides marketing, branding, and publicity, I find my clients speaking engagements. I find them to be in front of other audiences that would be, interested in what they have to say. I help them with their topics. I help them with their speaking. I help them with other things like print collateral, all that other stuff. So as a manager, I make sure everything's done on time and right away, so we can meet our benchmarks. So anyway, that's me, David Leta.
Thank you, David. And I am Nikki Gangemi, and I work with high achievers to help them to quiet the mental noise, which we talked about today, to get clear on what they want and to finally take action on things that they've been putting off for 20, 30 plus years. I've really enjoyed this conversation about growth, and what I'll say, my final thought is that whenever you are experiencing resistance or you are triggered, get excited, because that means you have an opportunity for growth. Lean into it, get curious, ask questions, and be willing to sit with it. It's not going to last forever. You might feel uncomfortable for a minute or two. Embrace it, and it gets so much easier.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
Thank you.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. This has been an awesome conversation. Come back on the show. Book another time, Robert and Raul. We'd love to have this conversation with you.
Yes.
David, I'm going to get to see you in 2 weeks. You're going to be co-hosting with me again, and I am excited for that.
It's a pleasure.
Fantastic.
Honor. Have a great 4th of July. Yeah.
Yes, enjoy the 4th of July.
Likewise.
Yes.
Yay, America.
Yay. You did a great one.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right, be blessed. Have a great time. Talk to you soon.
Talk soon.